Connected. There we go. Okay. So, same as the habit was starting to develop, where when I mention you, introduce yourself, just say hello, something like that, and then we'll go from there. So, in 3, 2, 1. Good afternoon and welcome to our weekly Fantasy Age RPG session. I've just noticed it's still titled Old Friends and New, and that's not the correct title. I'll fix that in post, or I'll fix it in time for next week. Anyway, I'm your games master for the week, and indeed for the campaign. I'm Bryan F. Irving from DH9 Radio, and also from Gethsemane Games, and we'll be running Green Ronin Games Fantasy Age. I'll explain a little bit about the campaign's history in a moment, but first of all, I will introduce our cast. We have Louise Mary Morris playing Mogg of the Bright Eye Clan.
Hello, I wasn't expecting to be first. Hello.
I just started at the bottom of the list on the side there. We have Sean McGuile as Kellen of Highgate.
Greetings.
And we have Patrick Heavyside as Gorrick Clovenhelm.
Hello.
Nell can't be with us due to illness, so the cast will be playing Adrienne. And we are picking it up from last week. The party who have been discovering the history of a mage who died about 200 years ago, a necromancer called Saragosa. They've been travelling around trying to piece together the mystery of his life and exactly what was going on. They began this in an attempt to regain some of the magical powers and abilities he was legendarily supposed to have. However, as it's gone on, they've started to learn a lot of things that people think they know about the man's life are not actually true. Having visited his tomb, and what turned out to be the tomb of his son and his wife, they've also visited the old mansion he used to live in before his exile, and between those locations have managed to piece together a map that purportedly shows where the tower that he built after his exile and where he was said to live right the way up until his death might be. And they're off on a quest to find that tower and loot it of anything magical.
I don't know. I mean, you know, carpets, curtains, wall hangings,
Okay.
furniture.
Let me correct myself. And loot it
Wine
of
cellar.
anything valuable. Where we left
Anything not nailed down.
anything not okay, and loot it of anything. Where we left them last week, they'd just left Fannon's frontier trading post with a small caravan of merchants. Their old friend Gurt the dwarf, Tamley Gent the half-elf, the Redfern brothers, and Greenleaf the gnome slash
Half orc. Half orc.
half-orc.
Someone's going to lose limbs if you say half elf.
Yeah, yes, half-orc, sorry, yes. Okay, so they've travelled north to one of the villages en route because they'd also been left a message by the goblins who run the travelling circus in the region that the wagon they had ordered has been completed, and if they can catch them up just outside this village, then they can take collection of their wagon. Unfortunately, that map seems to be taking a little bit of time to resolve, so I do apologise. It will pop in suddenly. It'll all resolve nicely. It'll look great any moment now. Do go ahead and there we go. There we go. Okay, so they're about here where you should see that sort of pinky purple ring pulsing. And it's evening, just to set everything up. It's late in the evening. It's dark. The area you're currently standing in is illuminated by the lights, the colourful lights of the Goblin Carnival, which is going on around you. You recently visited Yaga, the Goblin Seeress. Yaga, the Goblin Sheeresh. Just earlier, just a few minutes ago, to learn some more things. Every time you see Yaga, you learn something of interest. And as you came out, you bumped into the Goblin Engineer, who's very excited to see you and has taken you off to see your new battle wagon that you had him build. He's explaining excitedly what he did to it. Now then, the main problem was the weight, because there was quite a lot of things you wanted done to it, and we started to worry a little bit about the weight. So we've got as close to the specifications as we could without it just kind of, sinking into the ground. We've also had to widen the wheels a little bit to spread the weight, but that seems to be okay. We would recommend a team of about 4 horses, or oxen would be even better. Now, last time when you told him what you wanted, he'd already told you would need about 4 horses to pull the wagon once he'd done it, so you're kind of ready for that. But he takes you around the corner where you can see a large wagon shaped something under a tarpaulin. He kind of whistles and 2 other goblins come running out, and between them they all whip the tarpaulin off, and you get the first view of your new wagon. Now, it was based around the frame of the old wagon, as you know, and the excited goblin engineers going. Now, we strengthened the axles and the chassis because that wasn't going to cope with all the weight that we had to add, and we've had to find a few ways to reduce some of the weight, but we've been quite clever with that. I think you'll be impressed with the ways we've done that. So anyway, here it is. What do you think? And as the tarpaulin comes down, you see what is now essentially, from the covered wagon it used to be, it looks now more like a very large Vardo. They've even gone to the extent of painting it up, and they've painted some sort of colourful they look like vine leaves that they've painted onto the side of it. So they must have had a few extra moments after they'd done everything else. The other thing is the outer side of it is coated with shields, which was one of the suggestions that Gura made. Could you armour it using shields? Now, the shields don't go from the very bottom to the very top, but they cover the area you would likely to be standing in. So anybody trying to attack the vehicle, their weapons would be striking the shields before they could get to the wood, before they could get to the people inside. And the goblin's like, and now, you'd mentioned you wanted a pintle mount for a blunderbuss, and it kind of opens the door at the front. Come in, you're going to love this. As you go in, you see that they've set it out pretty much exactly how you asked for. They've got the cage in the back that you'd asked for. There's enough room to squeeze around the cage. It's a bit of a tight fit, but it can be done. And behind it, you can see like a pintle mount. There's also another one on each side, the left and right flank in the middle of the thing. So you can mount the blunderbuss on any one of these just with, and he shows you like unscrews a long nut. So there you go. So you would clamp the weapon in there, and this would clamp it, and you can mount it here, in which case it can fire to the left, or here, and fire to the right, or back here, in which case it would fire out the back. Obviously, though, you could also have 3, and you could mount 1 in each. That would give you... Now, you're probably wondering, what happens to the wall when I fire the blunderbuss, which would be pointed straight at it? Well, here's the clever thing. We were going to fit some levers that would open the sides, but again, the mechanism for that and the wood was all extra weight, so we needed to cut it down. So we've got a bit low tech, and here, hold this. And he passes you a rope. He says, now, just tug on that.
I pull it.
Okay. As you pull on that, you hear...
Farty noise, does it?
Sorry?
Sorry?
It doesn't make like a farty noise or anything.
It doesn't, no. As you pull on it, you hear... And part of the side of the Vardo opens up so that you've got like a firing window out of it. One of the shields is just kind of tilted upwards so you can fire out of it. And so then all you need to do is let go, and it'll lower it again, so you can open it to fire and then close it. So now,
Is that just on one side or both sides?
No, that's on both sides and the back. Look at this. And it opens the back, and you've got the same. Now on the back, you should have about a 90-degree arc of fire. Any more than that, and you might start to clip the upright supports on the thing. So about a 90-degree arc of fire. And you've got about the same on the left and the right, so that does give you certain blind spots. But chances are your enemies are going to be busily avoiding the onrushing buckshot long before they spot the blind spots.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So now you'll notice I haven't mounted a pintle mount at the front. So there's quite a large blind spot at the front. It says the reason I haven't done that is A, it would get in the way of the driver sitting on the driving step, and B, if I mounted a pintle mount for a blunderbuss on the front, you'd shoot your horse's heads off.
That wouldn't be ideal.
Yes.
We thought that might be something you might not be keen on,
Indeed.
so we didn't do that.
Yeah, we're not. What's his name? Are we the headless horseman?
No.
It looks great.
The headless
It
horses.
absolutely does, yes. And we talked about armour for the horses, or indeed oxen is now being suggested.
Well, what we've done is we've got you some chain barding for the horses. Probably wouldn't fit oxen, so we'd probably have to, if you decided to go with oxen, we'd have to rework that a little bit, because it didn't occur to us till afterwards. But we've got some chain barding for the horses, because again, we thought they're already going to be pulling quite a bit of weight, so if we went with plate barding, we're probably overburdening the animals a little bit. So
yes.
Here's the if you follow me outside, it goes outside and like pulls out a chest from underneath the wagon. It hasn't been attached; it's just been kind of underneath the wagon. It says, now, here's the barding. The chest's actually ours, but you'll notice you do have chests and containers on the outside of your Vardo. And you've got like a few containers, a water barrel, chest for bits and pieces.
Have we got the underfloor secret compartment?
It says there's actually 2 secret compartments. I'll show you those. It kind of crawls underneath and goes, there's one here, tappity tap tap, and there's one over here. Now, this one can only be accessed from outside, but that one can be only accessed from inside.
Excellent.
And you can booby trap either one if you would like to. Which reminds me, you mentioned booby traps. So, if you have a look underneath, you'll notice this little lever here. Now, your average nosy burglar is likely to pull that. I wouldn't suggest you pull that.
As he pulls it.
Yes.
Otherwise, this happens.
Yeah, otherwise this happens. Ah! I wouldn't suggest you pull that. Otherwise, let's just say bear trap.
Oh, excellent.
There's a bear trap concealed under there, so if they pull that, or even if they accidentally knocked it with a head while they were crawling underneath, well, you can imagine what would happen. But if you throw this pin here in your hands here, like another bolt, through there, that'll lock that trap off so it can't trigger. Now then, we've got 1 or 2 other minor little traps on as well. So if you have a look at around the back, it takes you to the back. So you see this step here. So if you release this bolt and this bolt, then that step will break apart under the weight of anybody trying to climb on to the back of your vessel.
Ah.
And you can release those by triggering that little lever inside that's next to in the corner. I'll show you again when we go around. It goes around and it shows you that. So anybody trying to attack you by getting on the back of your thing, just trigger that and it'll cause the support bolts in the back step to break away and the step will just fall off. So as long as they're standing on it when that happens, they'll be literally left in the dirt behind you. Now then, if we have a look on the top of the Vardo, bring me that ladder, bring me that ladder. One of the other goblins brings the ladder up. And he goes up ahead and he says, come and have a look, come and have a look. He says, right, here you will notice that just out of sight from the ground, you've got caltrops built around the rim.
Excellent.
So anybody, again, trying to jump onto the wagon or climb over it or whatnot is liable to... Now, it's not going to do them a huge amount of damage, it's not going to be fatal, but it's going to give them enough of a fright that they're likely to lose the grip and fall off.
Yes.
And again, you can leave them in the dirt or run them over or shoot them with the blunderbusses. Now, I think that was everything. stepping out of character for a moment as the games master, was there anything else you'd asked for that I'd forgotten about?
Offhand, I can't think of anything, no.
No, I can't think of anything either.
I would just like to say this is a lot more fun than the last time I went to Eldest World of Caravans.
Indeed so. So now what we've also done is you'll see this container on the outside, which looks as if it would hold, you know, some personal items, and it's a chest about the size of maybe it's a foot from front to back. It's about a foot deep, and it's about 2 feet long. So you can get a few things in there. Currently what's in it though are these, and he opens it up and it's just loads of nets. They're foraging nets, so they'll attach to these points here, and he starts pointing at like cleats that are fitted around the outside of the thing, so that you can use those to put your forage or other goods inside in the nets, because that cuts down the weight considerably, rather than us trying to bolt on a lot of these chests to hold everything. The only slight drawback with that is obviously attackers could ride past and slice the cargo nets, and some of your stuff could fall out. So I would say use that possibly for your least valuable bits and pieces, and secure your more valuable bits and pieces in there. Now then, you might have noticed the fiddling I had to do on the lock here to get the lock open. He hands you the key. So it looks like a perfectly normal lock. You just insert the key and unlock it that way, or you would pick it and whatnot. But actually, this little piece of the carving here, and this little bit of the carving here, are both buttons you need to apply pressure to. Otherwise, the lock won't disengage even if you use the key.
Ah.
So we got this idea from a puzzle box we saw once when we were down south. Or I believe, as you humans pronounce it, down south. I don't remember where this puzzle box had come from, but I remember some of the goblins got very interested in it, and it went round the stage hands for ages. They all kind of loved it, and we've built ideas from it in ever since. And this was one of the things you had to put the pressure on before things would unlock properly. So we've built that in, so if anybody was trying to rob you in the night, for example, obviously they're likely to just either steal the keys and try and use the keys, in which case they'll not get in, or pick the lock, in which case they'll not get in. Not unless they know or spot these two little buttons that they'd have to put pressure on. And I think most robbers are probably going to mistake that as some kind of trap mechanism.
Ingenious.
Now, we didn't include a trap mechanism on this because we were worried you'd forget and, you know, poison dart yourself in the nose or something.
What are they trying to say about us?
I'll say we didn't include a trap. We didn't include a dangerous trap, but... and he rummages through the nets and produces like a little metal bell. Says, now, we notice the hook on the inside, and he hooks the bell on and then closes the chest again, locks it, and hands you the key. Says, have a go at getting into the chest now.
Okay. Well, Mog, would you care to try?
Of course.
Okay.
Never mind a chest I can't get into.
So he hands you the key. You unlock the chest just as instructed, and you put the pressure on the two little latches. And as you unlock the chest, you click, clunk. And as you open it, you hear... Now let's see if I can get this to work. As you open it, you hear...
Oh!
Very nice.
So, anybody trying to rob you while you're asleep or off watering the horses or, you know, whatever it is you big folks do, you're probably going to hear that, especially at night when it's quiet. So it's not a trap in the sense of it's not going to hurt them, but it's going to alert you that somebody's trying to rob you.
I like it.
Excellent.
Well, as I say, there was one or two other things we talked about that, unfortunately, we started to worry about the weight a bit after that. So there's a couple of things we couldn't do that we'd hoped we might be able to. But other than that, what do you think?
I think it's fantastic.
It's absolutely what we asked for in every way.
Excellent. I'm so pleased you're happy with it. And the little goblins clapping away, like all three of the goblins are clapping away. They're dead proud of themselves that you're happy with the.
And what I can say is we will field test this shortly, and should it prove a success, as I have every faith that it will, we will be back to commission more of these.
Excellent. I'm very pleased to. Well, you know where we kind of, roughly what our circuit is. You can always find us. Big circus full of goblins. Hard to miss, really, to be entirely honest. The one thing, though, the one weakness I would say is it is very heavy, so soft ground is going to be its bane. I would worry a little bit that it would sink into soft ground. Is the only thing. We've widened the wheels a little bit, so it's not gonna. It's not. It'll disperse the weight a little bit more. It's not going to sink in sort of medium soft ground, but due to the weight, if it's muddy or anything, that's where you're going to start to get problems. That's where it might sort of start to bog down. However, we have a bit of a solution to that as well, actually, if you come and have a look at this. And it shows you kind of on the back underneath the step, they've got what looks to be a pulley. So now if you unhook this and if you click that to there and then you put a rope through this and around the around a tree and then around your draft animals, that should help to draw the thing out. But it's not perfect. It'll give you a little bit of extra purchase, but there's still always the risk of bogging down in soft ground. So I would be careful on soft ground. That's the one thing I would say. Just the weight is the thing.
You thought of everything though, didn't you?
Well, we did try. If we could have figured out a way to save any more weight and still make as secure as you wanted, we would have done, but unfortunately... Oh, I've forgotten something. Follow me back up this ladder. Mind the caltrips. It goes back up the ladder. And then sort of jumps onto over the caltrips and onto the roof. Says now the roofs are... Sorry?
This is Goblin Billy Mears. But wait, there's more.
Yeah. Says now then, the wood on the roof's not quite as thick as the roof as the wood on the sides. It will hold the weight of one person of your size. I wouldn't like to get... Well, not of your size, he says to Gora, but the big people.
Yes.
I wouldn't like to get too many more on there because that's the weakest part of the wood. Just again to try and cut the weight down. But you'll notice there's this little hole here, and this sort of metal bracket with a bolt. So now that's where you can fit one of those pintle mounts from inside. If you dismantle one of those, you can fit it up here and have a look round the roof and tell me what else you see.
Okay, I'll take a look around.
Make a perception searching test for me, please. Okay, it might help if I was on the right page. 15. Okay, so at first you just don't see it. You're kind of looking around thinking it's a roof. There are caltrips stuck in the sides there.
It'll have some bits which form a shield around it, probably.
There's something odd about this bit here. And you look closely, it's like... I think that's a hatch. But it's really hard to spot.
Okay.
The goblin's like, exactly, it's a hatch, but it can't be operated from outside. It's a one-way hatch, so it can be opened from inside. Now follow me. He runs back into the Vardo. He says, now, you notice the little set of steps that you use to get from the Vardo to the ground when you're camping of night. So they also have a second use, and he brings them inside, stands them in the middle of the wagon. and climbs up to the top of them. And you see in the roof there are 2 bolts, which he opens and pushes. And you've got 2 hinged hatches that then go out and round. So they're sort of hinged in the centre, but there's 2 of them. As they open, they form like a cupola almost, a turret at the top. So now if you're standing on this here, by the way, you notice you can bolt it to the floor. I would recommend that. Then if you unbolt one of those pintle mounts and pass it to me, and you do that, you put the pintle in the thing on the top that you saw. So there you go. You can now fire from here, and you've got cover on 2 sides. So you're only really at risk from front and rear, but you've got cover on 2 sides, and that gives you a much wider arc of fire. And now you can fire forward. However, if the weapon is mounted up here, you can't depress it enough to hit anybody within about 5 meters. So you'll be aiming at people beyond the 5 meter sort of range. That means you can't shoot your horse's head off from here. I mean, you can if you really try, but I wouldn't do that if I was you. I wouldn't really try. So that just seems unfair on the horsey.
Okay.
That's it. He's now definitely remembered to describe everything. He thinks he's now definitely remembered to describe everything.
So what he's saying is we're going to find something he never mentioned in about 6 months' time and be like, hey, that would be really handy to know about.
It's
As
possible.
one of us goes tumbling through the bottom of the thing.
You didn't mention the pit trap in the floor.
Some goblin engineer falls out of a cupboard. He's like, oh, I haven't finished.
I can't remember which supplement I saw it in, but there is a game supplement with what's purportedly like a haunted wagon. And it turns out it's not haunted. There's a rare gremlin living inside it in secret compartments.
Aww.
I kind of for the life of us remember where I found that. But, anyway, there you are.
Looking good. Looking good.
Excellent. Now, as the Games Master, I can't remember if you'd settled up with them in advance or if you still owe them anything for it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty certain we gave a deposit, but I don't think we paid the whole thing.
I think that's right, yeah. That sounds
Yeah.
right.
I would say there was a down payment.
Okay, so I assume you're going to settle up with them, and I assume neither you nor I can remember...
Well, I've got the money that Gora is personally holding, but I believe that all of the proceeds of the stuff that we've sold off from the manor is held on a separate sheet that I've got.
Yes,
which I don't presently have access to.
Okay. Yes, you were paying for it out of the kind of group funds that you're using to set up the road wardens. So we can worry about that a little bit later when we work out the cost of setting up the road wardens. I'll just chuck this in that, because it gets a little bit abstracted when you start dealing with organisations.
Yeah.
Now I've got a strange thing happening here. Every time I open one of my PDFs, it closes the other ones. Oh no, wait a minute. It doesn't. It's just changed. It no longer shows them in the tabs along the top. It shows them instead in the tabs down the side, and I was looking in the wrong place.
Down the side. I thought it just opened them in as a Windows, and you now had like 500 copies of the companion open.
Oh, that's what I was worried might happen, because I already have about a dozen windows open just to run this. Okay, so let's stat a few things up then, shall we? So let's start with the horse barding, because that's easy. It's under armour. So equipment, armour and shields. I think I've just gone straight past it. Yes, I have. So it is light mail. So all your team of horses will now be lightly barded. That will give them an armor rating of 5, but it has an armor penalty -2. So that means their speed will be reduced by 2, and any dexterity skills that the horses might use. If the horses decide to have a bit of a dance or do some acrobatics.
Hey, dude, it's Party Horse.
So, if we include the weight of the rest of the vehicle, then a team of 4 horses will have a total penalty of -4 on their speed.
Okay.
And obviously, if you reduce the team, the penalty would increase. So 4 horses, their speed is -4. 2 horses, their speed is -8, which would mean it would really be going at a crawl.
The war wagon isn't about speed.
No. It's essentially a sort of miniature fortress, really.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's not a rapid response vehicle, although I do have some concepts in mind for that. This is quite literally the big guns.
Yes.
It's Gora's moving castle.
It's Gora's moving castle, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so
I need a little fire spirit for inside.
And some really delicious looking food.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's the other
Studio
thing.
Ghibli always has the best food, doesn't it?
Yeah,
That's the
I'm
other
going to have to step out in a little while.
Okay, no problem. No
Um,
problem if you just want to mute your mic till you're ready.
Gotta
That's
find
fine.
it. I'll be back in a bit.
Okay, no problem. The other thing he did forget to mention is the wood and the leather have all been treated so that they are waterproof and fire resistant. Okay.
Excellent.
So the fire resistance isn't a particularly strong fire resistance. It's not going to reduce damage from fire-based attacks. What it is going to do is stop it actually catching fire.
Yeah.
So you would still take the damage from the initial impact, but you wouldn't take damage every round from it burning.
And burning damage.
Obviously, that can be overwhelmed if the fire is strong enough. So dragon fire is still going to set it alight. But lit arrows won't.
Okay.
Right.
So I just need to...
That is an ominous warning of the future. Dragonfire is going to still set alight.
Okay. In the event that a dragon breathes fire on it, then when that happens, but yeah, so sort of if that happens, then that would still be enough heat to set it on fire.
The great thing is, this is only mundane stats we're talking about here. This is before you get a battle mage on the inside buffing it.
Yes, absolutely, it is.
Mm.
Okay, I'm just.
And how many pintle mounts are there?
There are 3 actual metal pintle mounts, but there are 4 hard points that it can be mounted on. 1 inside to the left, 1 inside to the right, 1 to the rear inside, and then there's the one on the roof.
And they will all take an arbalist, won't they?
They will all take an arbalist or a aquabus, yes.
Or blunderbuss.
Sorry, blunderbuss, yes.
Well, both, in fact.
Well, either, really, yeah.
Yeah. I think having a good selection of weapons to distribute among those hard points would be very useful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could we get? I mean, a blunderbuss is effectively doing something similar to grape shot.
That's right, it is, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Now then, I'm going to give you the stats for the vehicle itself. In just a moment. I just need to find the stats for the vehicle itself. Then I'm going to give you them. Okay, got it. Yeah. So, first thing you need to know is its velocity class is standard.
Will we get this as a handout?
Didn't think of that, but wouldn't you have thought I would have done? Hold on, I'll create a handout for it now. Add handout. So this is, what do you want to call it? Battle wagon?
Everybody in agreement?
Yeah.
Is that maybe a little bit bloodthirsty for a peacekeeping organisation?
Could be.
Happy, fun, friendly wagon.
Happy, fun, friendly battle wagon.
We're coming to town.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll start typing the details in for you, and you can be thinking about what you want to call it.
The Peacekeeper.
Yeah.
Tranquility on wheels.
So I'm going to read this out as I'm typing it in. So it's velocity class as standard. That means it moves at about the speed of a horse.
Hold on, right? Stop me if this is too hippie, right? We are the company of light. Light.
Yes. Lightbringer.
Yeah.
Ah, right. Yeah.
Ooh. Yes. The wagon. The wagon that birthed the Lightbringer class.
I will.
yes.
I will now forever have that Covenant song stuck in my head every time we mention it.
Yeah. Okay, so it has a base collision damage of 1d6. That means if it collides with something head-on, or if something collides with it head-on, the damage would be 1d6, the damage it would cause. It also has a side swipe damage, so if you do the whole... oh god, I've forgotten the name of it now. One of the sword and sandal ones with the Roman chariots. Ben-Hur. If you do the whole Ben-Hur and side swipe something, you do 1d3 damage. Now these are base damages, so these assume that you're travelling at the horse's comfortable pace. So they can be upped a little bit if it's charging.
Speaking of the horses and their armour,
Yes.
I did ask for silver-tipped spikes.
On...
to protect the horses.
Oh,
as in, if we were attacked by anything that's vulnerable to silver, shall we say.
Okie dokie. Right, okay. We'll assume we've got a couple of those then.
Mm-hmm.
Probably on the tack that connects it to the... Okay, so I need the...
Hook-looking reins.
Yeah. Hello there. So the handling...
Just people dropping off Father's Day gifts.
Ah, right, okay. Yeah. Oh, damn, that reminds me. And I'll probably need to... Just a second. Alexa, remind me in 3 hours, call Mother.
Okay, I'll remind you in 3 hours.
And if she asks, I didn't have to set Alexa to remind me.
You're showing thought by setting that reminder.
That's true, yeah. I always ring my mother on Father's Day because, you know, my grandfather died around about this time of year. So,
of course.
So the handling class for your vehicle is -1.
That means it steers like a rogue asteroid.
Not quite. It steers like a heavy carriage, which is essentially what it is. Its capacity, the number of people it'll fit inside it comfortably, is 4. The party is actually 6 people strong, so you couldn't get the entire party comfortably inside this in one go.
Well, someone's got to drive the thing, so...
Well, that's including the driver.
We were going to have an outrider as well, though, weren't we?
It's very wise to have outriders with this type of thing.
Well, I'm going to be riding a horse.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you and your squire, I would have thought.
Yeah. Baden. Yeah. So its velocity is standard and 2 asterisks, and I don't know what they're for, so just give me a second till I find out what the 2 asterisks mean.
While you were away, Sean, thoughts on the name Lightbringer for the wagon?
Sorry?
We were trying to come up with a name for the wagon while you were away. My thoughts were Lightbringer. Because we are the company of light.
I was going to call it the dawn of justice, but there you go.
Ooh.
Ooh, I don't know that.
Okay, the first of the Lightbringer class. The flag wagon.
The dawn treader.
No.
Don't tread.
But not here at all.
Ram
We
damage.
just need a giant talking mouse now
Yes.
with a rapier.
Or a rat.
Is plus 1d6.
Or-
Mouse, wasn't he? Hang on.
Yeah, he was chief of the talking mice.
No, I'm thinking for us, a rat
Yeah,
from
true.
Roland.
Point.
Yes. Okay, carriage. Cover.
Yeah, I'm not going to do the voice.
Okay, so cover. This is the cover that's provided to the people inside. So the driver's cover is light, 1 point. The occupants is heavy, 3 points. So essentially what that means is the driver, if he's still on the step, any attack from the forward arc, the driver would be considered to have light cover, which means their defense would be 1 point higher. The cover for any occupants of the thing, anybody who's actually inside, is heavy cover, so it's 3 point cover. So their defense goes up by 3 points. That's assuming that you're all busily sort of firing back with the hatches open under fire and so on.
Right.
You can just batten down and then it becomes like complete cover, but that's when people start trying to smash it apart. So that's your cover. It's armor. So the
Quick
normal
question.
armor on a carriage is 1 and it's been up armored, so it is now 5. Sorry, quick question, yes.
Firing a projectile spell.
Yes.
How much space would I need from within to be able to cast it? Is it just line of sight?
I'm not entirely sure I quite understood the question.
Right. If I'm going to say, I fire an arcane blast.
Yeah.
Does that manifest at full size from my arcane device?
Yes.
It does.
Yeah.
So the gap to fire that out would only need to be as wide as my arcane device.
Yes, that's right.
It's
So
like a gun barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
gun
exactly.
barrel. Yeah.
So I'd only really need like a firing slit
Yes.
to fire it out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Whereas I expect if you were to do something like a flame blast, you'd need an open window effectively because you're going to have to gesture and project your hand effectively in front of you.
That's right. Yeah.
Sort of like you do a, I don't know, for want of a better word, Tommy Cooper style
Just like that.
hands towards it, just like that, towards the opposition, you know, like fingers out. And that kind of, very similar to that other game that people don't like. Begins with D and ends in another word with D.
Okay, so... And finally, it has a hull rating of 1. Doesn't sound like much, but that's actually quite significant. The hull rating is used to determine how difficult it is to actually damage the vehicle with standard weaponry. To damage the vehicle, you must spend stunt points equal to or greater than its hull rating on the armor pierce, on the pierce hull anti-vehicle stunt. Right. So, shooting at you, if they're trying to damage the vehicle rather than the occupants, they have to spend 1 stunt point to do so and beat its 5 points of armor.
Ah.
If you follow that.
Yeah,
So that means if you haven't stunted in the first place, then
can't harm it.
you can't harm the vehicle. Yes.
I would
Interesting.
expect standard arrows would do no damage anyway. to,
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Standard arrows are unlikely to do any damage unless they go through the gaps and hit the people inside. So there you go. That's a pretty decent little vehicle. It has a standard velocity class. It causes 1d6 collision damage if it collides with anything, but, and we'll come back to that, it's 1d6 plus its ram damage if you're colliding with something, rather than if something sort of smashes into you. If something smashes into you, you take the ram plus collision damage and they take the collision damage. The side swipe is 1d3, so not a huge amount, but enough that you might knock somebody who's driving a vehicle that might require a drive test. The handling class is 1, the capacity is 4, standard velocity, so it travels at the speed of those horses. Its ram damage is plus 1d6, so if you deliberately rammed somebody or ran them over, they would take the ram damage plus the collision damage, so that would be 2d6. It provides light cover to the driver and heavy cover to the occupants. It has 5 points of armour and a whole class of 1. So there you go. I'm going to save that off and I'm going to show that to players. So you should now be able to see that. And I'm going to add can be edited by and in journals of all players. There you go.
Do you want to, you say it's velocity standard, you've got 2 double asterisks, you've got a double asterisk there, what does that mean?
That was what I looked up earlier. That means it is the speed of the draft animals.
Minus
Minus
4.
their armour penalty, so it's minus 4.
Right.
Minus 8 if you were expecting 2 animals to drive it instead of 4.
Right, okay.
So there you go. Happy with that?
Yeah.
Indeed, yes. So what was the name that you came up with, Sean?
I was the Dawn of Justice.
Right. Shall we combine the two?
Up to you.
Because I really like both.
Yeah.
What was the other option?
Lightbringer.
I don't know. How are you going to combine them?
Like this. Hang on.
The Dawn Lightbringer, Justice Bringer, light.
Dawnbringer? Light Dawn? I don't know.
No. Like that.
Like what?
Dawn
This
of
one in
Justice, First of the
particular-
Light, yeah.
Yeah. This one in particular is called the Dawn of Justice, but it is a Lightbringer battle wagon.
That makes sense.
Have
In
you
the
put
same
that-
way, that the Enterprise D was a Galaxy class.
Galaxy class, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
It wasn't a Milky Way class or a Mars
Snickers.
class. It was a Snickers class.
Yeah. No, I think the Snickers class was the one in the parody show that was loosely based on it because it was full of nuts. Ta-da!
Isn't that that one that, was it Wolf 359 that looks like a pizza cutter?
You can actually get a Star Trek Enterprise pizza cutter. It's like the circular piece is like the thing, the saucer shape part.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yes. So,
Like,
wagon.
see, that's exactly the sort of thing that my mother would love because she's a huge Star Trek fan. Like, massive Star Trek fan. Our alarm clock is the Enterprise D, which fires a spread of photon torpedoes at her every morning to get her out of bed.
Yeah.
And various other sort of Star Trek related stuff scattered throughout how massive Star Trek fan shows has been. Okay, so what would you like to do next?
Sleep, I presume, because it's night time.
Oh, I don't think Gora can sleep. I'm just going to be tinkering with with this battle wagon, and I'm just going to put my various weapons onto the pintle mounts and just see how they fit, see how they spin.
Mhm.
Just going to get a real feel for the thing.
Okay, they've got a nice fluid movement. Obviously, one of the things that could be damaged in the vehicle by things attacking are the pintle mounts themselves. If somebody happens to fire before you've managed to close the hatch or anything, probably take something fairly significant to do the pintle mounts any damage, and the most you can expect is to dent it, something like that. But you're pretty pleased. like you say, you can see where some of the blind spots would be for the pintle mounts, but there were always going to be blind spots firing from a vehicle, and you will have your outriders to deal with.
Oh yes, and there's a built-in cage.
And there's the built-in cage that you asked for, yes.
Okay, I'm going to spend some time blessing that.
Okay.
I thought you were going to say you were going to sleep in the cage.
So did I, actually. Genuinely thought that.
But okay.
Okay, so you can make a note on the handout for that. The cage is blessed.
Yep. Just thinking about the last time we had something trapped in a cage.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so you invoke a few prayers towards Palor and start pulling down mystical divine energy to bless the cage as best you can. You sploosh it a little bit with some holy water. Complete a series of prayers, and you're pretty convinced that this cage now is consecrated, holy ground. It could almost act as a miniature temple if you wanted it to. Although you'd only really fit one person in it, but more of a shrine really than a temple.
Well, people could queue up to come into the cage for
Yes.
for a one. This is starting to sound terrible. For a one-to-one blessing. No, come on, something else.
So you're going to be wearing a top hat and a black, and start shouting lollipops, lollipops.
All free today.
I never thought of that, actually. I could have based it quite closely on that if I'd wanted to, couldn't I?
It was under a tarp to begin with as well.
It was, aye.
Free sweets on the side.
Yes.
The candy wagon.
We shouldn't call it that.
Yeah.
We should definitely have an outright ban on any further wagons of the line being called the candy wagon.
Yes.
Okay. No problem.
Okay, so where would the rest of you like to spend the night? Where would all of you? Well, the rest of you like to spend the night as Goru's going to be playing with a new wagon.
Yeah, well, we're going to make sure that the horses and everything have been put in the stable, etc., and everything's and all the tack and everything's been done.
Okay. Well, you're invited
then-
by the goblins to spend the night inside the perimeter of the carnival if you want to. That'll certainly add to a lot of security because you've got all the goblins, you've got all the animals from the carnival, which you discovered the last time are actually there as familiars to the various beastmasters.
They're not actually animals. They're
Yeah. So all the
actually-
cages that they live in are just there for show, and they're all actually unlocked and whatnot. They pull the doors shut when the public's around, so that they don't panic, thinking that the wild animals can get out. Because they're not actually wild animals; they're the people's familiars.
Okay. Well, yeah, that sounds like if they've got a tent, they can put us up in.
Yeah, they've got a
Something like that.
few spare tents. Also, there's your Vardo itself. You've got your own tents as well. So between you, you've got plenty of options and plenty of space to put out.
Well, I was thinking rather than unpack all our gear, set up a camp.
Good
Why
point.
not use facilities provided, so we know it's already pre-packed, ready to go. We don't have to break camp in the morning. We can just say, "Thank you very much," and be on our way.
Okie dokie. Well, you start. You're shown to your tents where they've got a few spare tents. You're shown to them, and as you're sort of getting ready to putting the equipment you will have with you in there, you see Gurt comes round the corner eating what appears to be candy floss.
Oh no.
He's got it in his beard and all sorts.
Pudding on a stick. There you go.
This is great. They serve pudding on the stick here. Here, try one of these sweets.
Does he have any of that bubble gum?
He does have some of the bubble gum, yeah.
Well, I'll chew up some of that and then tell a really bad joke and send it flying around.
Okay, so you chew up some of the bubble gum, tell a really bad joke that nobody present can actually hear, and blow the bubbles, and then that sails off with the bad joke trapped within it, and that'll be told to whoever's standing nearby when the bubble bursts. It's good. It's like, this place is great. They do pudding on a stick. They do all these. Did you see the dancing girls? They were brilliant. I hear there's a ghost, a haunted house as well. I'm going to try that later.
Somewhere in the distance, there's a pop noise followed by a tiny, tiny voice saying, "Gelatinous cubes aren't even a real thing. They're a viscous mockery."
Oh. Oh dear. You hear chortling in the distance.
And groans.
And groans, yeah.
And you can physically feel eyes rolling around the world.
Yeah. Anyway, Gurt says, we're going to be camping just outside the perimeter for the night, so we're not going into town till tomorrow morning. I imagine you'll be heading off on whatever heroic adventures and deeds of daring do that have brought you out with us this far. So, just in case we don't see each other tomorrow, you all take care. We'll all see you again. I think we'll be passing back through here in about a month or two. We'll see you back at Fannon's in about a month or two if you're there.
It will be an absolute pleasure.
Nice seeing you all again. You have a good night and you take care with whatever adventurous things you're up to, and bring some good stories. You can hear Tamley behind him going, so he can steal them and tell everybody else who did. He pretends not to have heard her.
Right.
They shake everybody's hand and then they wander off with Gurt going, I might have another one of these puddings on a stick. Okay. During the course... Sorry, go on. No, go
I
on.
was going to say, case in point, we've got a battle wagon now, but it can't really be used to store a great many things, can it?
Not really, no.
Right. Well, I've got a special pair of pincers, and I'm fully intending on taking everything that even is nailed down.
Right.
So, might it be wise if we invest in another standard wagon to accompany us purely to take the loot?
Well, I tell you what, you guys have a bit of a discussion about that for a couple of minutes. I'm just going to nip to the bathroom. I'll be back in a couple of minutes' time. I'm just leaving the voice feeds out to the recording. So I'll see you back in a few moments. You have a discussion about whether you want to buy another wagon and anything else you might want to pick up in town.
Right.
I've got the thieves' purse. As long as it is so big that it won't fit through the top of it, I think we're good for now with that. Like, unless you're planning on taking, like, a whole door or something, you know?
It could be one of those magical doors that talks. There's a cartoon where the door's going, buddy, I'm the forbidden door. You're not supposed to go inside what's behind me. You should come in. You really should. Whereas, like, the guy keeps walking past it, keeps tempting, and next thing you know, there's this door floating down the river. And a frog sat on it, and he's going, hey, frog, you should really open the door. It's like, it's just...
In Discworld, there was a bogeyman that always hid behind a door, and in the game, he wouldn't leave there, so you had to unscrew the door, and he walked everywhere behind it, so you never actually saw what he looked like. It was just a door with a set of hands holding it.
Is that not the socially awkward banshee?
It might. I'm not entirely sure.
Like us that say, ooh, yo, 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 yo.
I think yeah, it could have been the same thing actually. Hang on, I have to check.
Sorry if there's a rustling noise. It's just me examining what's in this goodie bag that I've got.
Okay.
Which has just fallen over.
Badly written note of the banshee.
There you go. It's a shy bogeyman is what he is.
Mm.
Okay, I'm back. So, where are we at? What's...
We were discussing talking doors.
That's the point. We actually had a thing to discuss, and we got completely sidetracked instantly.
Welcome to my gaming group, everybody at home.
So the problem is, if we buy another wagon,
Mm.
to load up with loot,
Yeah.
who's going to drive it?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, like I say, I've still got the thieves' purse.
Mm.
And as long as we aren't trying to take an entire Parthenon that won't fit through the hole at the top of it, I think that should be good
And
for a
what
while.
happens? What happens when you see a matching polar bear? Exactly. What happens when there's a huge art collection?
Oh god.
Exactly.
Well, we just cut them out of the frames. We roll them out, stuff them into the bag.
Right. If the only issue is who drives the other wagon, how many of us are capable of driving a wagon?
Anybody could. Well, well, I don't know about anybody. I don't know if the scribe could.
Actually, yes, she can.
Right. Okay. Fantastic. I mean, we're going to be in there for days. I would assume. The manor was how long? Was it about 3 days we were in that place?
I think you were in there for about 3 days, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the scribe can certainly continue scribing and doing the translation job on the spell books while we're in there. The journey up, we can take turns on driving the wagon if
Okay.
need be.
Okay. Just bear in mind you are crossing into some very mountainous terrain.
Right.
So to give you an idea, you are currently here. You can see where that's pinging in a sort of pinky purple colour.
Yep.
I can just see the edge of it. Yes, yeah, with
Okay. Yes, you are here. Now if you would like to
Are
pan
we going
to the top? Here.
like that,
yes.
Yeah.
or do we need to go through the Canyon of the Three Tombs?
You don't need to go through the Canyon of the Three Tombs if you can find the other entrance through this set of mountains here.
Or it might be that way. I don't know. Or unless you have to go up the back of this one and round the back of that one.
So the problem is this set of mountains here is finding your way through them. You know an entrance which would involve you backtracking. Hold on a second, I'll draw that on for you. So you know an entrance that would involve you backtracking several days and coming through the valley of the Canyon of the Three Tombs, or past the Canyon of the Three Tombs, and up that way. According to your map, it's very difficult to tell if there's any sort of passageway through this set of mountains here. It's not to say there isn't, you're just not sure.
Right. Well, we're in a village that is the closest village to those mountains.
Pretty close, yes.
We need to ask around.
You do.
Who is this? Who is this guy hiding behind this hill over here? I'm just like a little body and a man.
I'm gonna have to zoom in on that one.
Not going to be very
It
little. If we can see him
Really
on the map,
does,
like.
doesn't it? It's actually
Oh, is
part
it-
of the
is it-
mountain, but it looks like it looks almost like a giant, doesn't it?
Could be a nice giant.
It's Hero Bryan.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, you could head into the village tomorrow and see if you can find
I could
somebody who
hire
knows.
a guide.
You
Yeah.
could hire a guide. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so you have a quiet-ish night. It's never quiet camping among 150 goblins and their animals. So
That's no way to put the goblins down, calling them animals.
during the course of the night, you can hear, or more or less constant sounds. There's snoring goblins. There's music playing. There's the various animal noises. You can hear conversations going on late into the night. So let me have a willpower self-discipline test from everybody, please. See if you can get to sleep through the noise. We'll call that a challenging task, so it's 13 or better. Yep, Callan can. He's used to military encampments, so he's out like a light. Gora's so excited that she's awake most of the night anyway until she wears herself out and then just kind of passes out curled up in the Vado. Mog, well, again, orcs, you see. Orcs are used to noisy encampments full of other noisy orcs who also snore. And strange. Sorry?
She built herself like a big nest of blankets, like some sort of giant green cat.
Indeed so. I'm just going to see how your NPCs get along with that. So
Has anybody rolled for Adrian yet? No.
nobody's rolled for Adrienne yet, so if you want to give
2 seconds. Oh, she'll do well. Her willpower's excellent.
yeah, her willpower should be fairly high. Oh yeah. Adrienne's just out like a light. Head barely touches the pillow and she's just out.
So it's
Okay.
when she just falls down on the bed asleep,
Yeah, pretty much.
straight off like that.
Novitiate's sister Erin manages to get off to sleep quite quickly as well. She reads a little bit through the course of the night. Eventually just puts a marker in a book, puts it on the ground next to the trunk, the backpack she keeps her books in and whatnot, lies it on top of that, I should say, so it doesn't get damp. And then turns over and just out like a light. Baden is going to be up polishing armour and sharpening weapons for a little bit during the course of the night before he can't get to sleep. So the rest of you wake up refreshed the next morning, having just slept through, and you can see Baden at the bottom of the one of the tents, just bleary-eyed with big black circles under his eyes, where he's completely failed to get to sleep, just sort of half-heartedly polishing one of the swords. My God, how loud can goblins be? I swear I heard animals during the night that you don't even get in this part of the world, and there's none of them here. I just don't understand it. And then I don't know if the rest of you noticed, but at about 2 in the morning, there was this bizarre glowing goblin just floated through the side of the tent, waved and floated off through the other side.
I must have missed that. I had a really good night's sleep. I really was most relaxed. I've had it ages. And
Well,
then, like, I do like a really big
Ever wonder
stretch.
what life is like for your baby?
No, I'm really
Apologies for that.
That's okay.
What was that?
That was a very intrusive advert.
That's alright, it happens. Okay, so, Baden's completely failed to get to sleep. From the description of the ghost goblin he gives you, those of you who've been to the Goblin Carnival before recognise it as the ghost that works the haunted house, who obviously came for a visit, and when everybody except the one guy didn't know was asleep, he just sort of
Went away again.
Yes, it just went away again. So Baden's now desperately trying to make breakfast without just passing out in it. He's really tired. I'm frying
I
the
think
eggs.
I think he should be relieved of that duty, and somebody else will do it. I'll do it.
I couldn't possibly let you do it, sir. That's a squire's job. I mean, that's...
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I'll do it anyway. That's an order.
You relieve Baden of the job because he's obviously too tired, and you start making the breakfast, and you see Sister Erin sort of, because he's literally, when he's handed the eggs over to you, he's just kind of zoned out. He's so tired. You see Erin sort of picks him up and takes him over to one of the cots and lies him in the cot, gets his armour off and just puts his night shirt on him and one of those big floppy night caps, and tucks him in, reads to him a little bit, but he's out now at this point. Even though it's actually still quite noisy outside because the goblins are all, like, you know, doing various prep work and whatnot for the next night's thing. He's so tired he's just gone out. This is possibly a bit of a problem for a squire if he can't handle missing one night's sleep, because over his military career he's liable to have to miss quite a lot. But he's still young. It's early. Eventually, anyway, you all make and have breakfast and strike camp after giving Baden a little bit of extra time. Fat Erin suggests, could we just load him in the van to sleep? We're just going down to town.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea.
Yeah. She tries picking him up and then thinks better of it. So, okay, let me rephrase that. Could somebody else get him in there?
Right, so that's probably somebody like me that needs to do that.
Yeah.
You get his arms, I'll get his feet.
Right.
Yeah, between us. Easy.
As you grab his arms and Mog grabs his feet and you lift him up to load him into the... excuse me. The wagon. He kind of half wakes up and panics a little bit. I'm being kidnapped. Oh, it's just you. What's happening? What's going on?
Oh, fool. We're going to kidnap someone. It wouldn't be you.
Well, there wouldn't be much point in kidnapping me, would there?
Exactly.
You load him into the wagon and just let him sleep while you say goodbye to all your goblin friends. Say goodbye again to Gurt because you happen to pass him and Tamley and the Redfern brothers and Greenleaf as you're coming out of the goblin encampment to head down towards the village. You encounter them again, just getting ready to head off up to their next stop. So you exchange pleasantries with them and they all wish you well again. And in that typical awkward British sort of way where you've said goodbye to somebody and then you bump into them 5 minutes later.
Is this like when you're in the supermarket and you see someone and you're like, hi, bye, and then run into them again in the crisp aisle?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then the aisle after that as well.
Yes. Now, this is a phenomenon that I've seen multiple times. The people you enter the supermarket with, you will track with them throughout your entire stay there. You'll cross paths with them over and over again because you went at the same time and you kind of move at the same pace.
And because they're, I suppose, people who you would associate with normally, they'll buy similar stuff to you.
There's that too as well.
I don't know, most people I enter a supermarket with spend considerably less time in the toys aisle than I do and considerably more time in the booze aisle than I do. In my defence about the toys aisle, though, I have discovered that Matchbox cars are approximate scale to 15mm miniatures, which is great for doing post-apocalyptic tabletop battles. I have a massive collection of Matchbox cars that I've duffed up a bit for post-apocalyptic games.
Didn't you get it? Somebody gave you a load, didn't they?
Somebody gave us a bunch as well. It was Tia, yeah.
Yeah, it was a big bag full of old. Probably some of them probably collector's versions.
Possibly, actually, I should probably go through them. Not anymore now. I've vandalised them all, so they look more sort of post-apocalyptic. Yeah. Okay, so you travel down into the town itself. As you're approaching the town, what you notice is that town is, shall we call it, a bit of an exaggeration. It's a very kind way of phrasing what is essentially about 4 or 5 buildings clustered together. It's barely a town at all. Village would be stretching the definition of Dutch, to be fair. But it does
Hamlet.
have quite a hamlet, yeah. It does have quite a large market square, disproportionately large for the size of the actual.
Is there a
Hamlet
temple
itself.
here?
There isn't, as it happens, no.
In which case, if we're going by the same rules as this country, then definitely a hamlet, yes.
Yes. Yeah. So, there's only about 8 buildings or so as you approach it. You notice that most of those, but not all, are farms. There is a...
Is there a smithy?
There is a smithy, yes. In fact, that's one of the first buildings you approach from this end. Is the
Or
smithy.
is it like it's a smithy come livery stable
Yes,
type
it is.
place that
Yeah.
also does wagon repairs, etc. I would suggest.
They do, as a matter of fact, yes.
Yeah, it'll be that all-in-one sort of type of blacksmith.
Yes,
You old Quickford.
the old quick fit, yeah.
Ye olde quick fit.
And it's very much a blacksmith as well, and not a weaponsmith or an armourer's. So
Yeah,
you know,
we're doing ploughshares and wagons for the local farmers.
that's right. That's exactly what it is. Local farmers and the prospectors that kind of
People up in the hills, yeah.
yeah, you
miners.
get an awful lot of prospectors and miners in these hills as well. So they're used to making that type of thing. You notice there is, other than that, there's a baker's.
Is there a butcher's?
There
Or
is
a
a
candlestick
butcher's,
maker?
yes. There's not a candlestick maker. There's a butcher's, there's a baker's, there is a greengrocer's, there is the blacksmith's, and there is a leather worker. Oh, and a carpenter.
Right. So it tends to be it's a cluster of commercialism.
Yes, it is essentially. Yeah. So everybody in the village or the hamlet seems to have a small business that in some way supports the farms and small mines and whatnot that dot around the area.
We good for like food for the trip? We need one. No?
This would be a good place to get it because there's quite a lot of farms trade here. As you're coming in, you see that the blacksmith kind of looks up and then sort of gives you the once over and then looks back at whatever it is he's hammering. It does appear to be a ploughshare, actually.
And the guy who owns the shop, Arkwright's, comes out rubbing his hands.
Do we need to buy 4 candles?
Sorry, do
Got
you
any
mean
hours?
4 candles or handles for forks?
Or what's it? Left leg of orangutan with beans.
I don't think I got that reference.
You never seen that one where he goes into a shop and he says, "Well, what do you sell here?" He says, "Beans." He says, "What do you mean?" He says, "You name it with beans, you can buy it here."
Right.
And he goes through all these ridiculous things.
Mhm.
And he goes, leg of orangutan with beans, and he pulls down a can, he puts it on the counter, and he goes, "There you are." What if I want left leg? And he goes, "Right, you're doing this to annoy me, aren't you?" And he puts it back up on the shelf and he pulls another tin, puts it down. And he says, "Well, what was the other one?" He says, "That was right leg." And it's just like,
Don't remember that
he
one.
goes through all this ridiculous stuff with beans. And he says, "Well, why did you do it?" He says, "Well, one time a customer kicked up such a storm that we didn't have a particular variety of baked beans." It's just crazy.
Okay.
4 candles is the...
4 candles, yeah, is the classic. So, what would you like to do in this tiny little settlement?
Were we not inquiring about buying a wagon?
Yes, so the most likely place to try that would be the blacksmith's.
Yeah.
So as you rattle into the blacksmith's, he looks up again and quenches the steel ploughshare he's just been making. Puts it on there. Clang, clang, clang. How can I help you fine folks? Cat, got your tongue?
Well, we'd like a wagon and provisions, please.
Provisions? Do I look like I sell provisions? I'm a blacksmith.
You look like you do a great many things, so at the very least, if you didn't sell them yourself, you'd be able to direct us to somebody who could.
He kind of looks round this tiny hamlet of 6 or 7 buildings and says, I can see why you might struggle to find it yourself in this complicated metropolis. But provisions, you probably want Bessie the baker. That's her over there. You see that building there with the picture of bread on the front?
I can see you're a man who's used to having a captive audience as far as commerce goes.
Well, yeah, sort of. So that's Bessie the baker that you could try there, and then there's Arkwright the greengrocer. Because now you've put it in my mind, I'm going to have to. Arkwright the greengrocer down there, he's probably got some provisions or something. Depends what you want, really.
Yeah.
But a wagon. Sorry, go on.
We're also on the lookout for. Do you know if there's anyone around here that knows a way through the mountains, or would be able to give us a bit of a guide?
Now the thing about the mountains is, right, if you hear tell, you'll know that there is no way through these mountains from here.
Well, yeah, but surely you must know a way.
Oh,
surely.
well,
Given
I don't know a way, but there are people that definitely do know the ways through the mountains that definitely don't exist.
The mountains don't exist?
Well, the mountains exist, but
Yeah.
if you hear
but the
tell,
people
there's
don't.
no way through them. They even call them the barrier peaks if you go a bit further north and whatever that is over there west. But actually, they're not quite the barrier that people make out. Some of the trappers will be able to tell you, and the prospectors probably a good option. Not that there's a great many of either in town right now, but
Where would we find them if they were?
that's a very good question.
And is there like a tavern, an inn, an ale house?
There isn't. No, we're too small a town, really. We haven't gotten around to building a tavern. There's just not enough people here to keep it going much. But there is brewers, funnily enough.
A brewery.
Yeah, brewery. Which has the closest thing to an ale house attached to it.
Right. Okay.
a tasting room.
A tasting room sort of thing, yes. It'd probably be in there because they also handle the monetary exchanges for those who find gold. And I seem to recall that Eric, I think, was... I'm sure I saw him around here yesterday. He's probably still there.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem.
My good
Now,
man.
about this wagon you wanted
Wagon,
to talk
yes.
to me about. Just looking at the wagon you've got. I haven't got anything like that.
Well, you're in luck. We're not after anything like that, as we've
Excellent.
already got one.
I noticed you had one, yes.
What we'd like is a standard wagon that could take provisions and possibly take a couple of beds.
Flatbed wagon, covered wagon.
Covered.
Okay, so don't have one of them. Got a flatbed though.
Not a lot to do.
Okay, follow me. I'll show you. Takes you round the back of the building where you see another tarpaulin covered, quite long but low outline. He pulls the tarpaulin back. And what you see is a flatbed wagon that has seen better days, to be fair. It's old, it's dusty as well, so it doesn't look like it's been used much lately. There you go. That's a wagon.
It is.
That do you?
Okay, I'll take a look at it, see how much it's worth.
Yeah, we should probably check it over for woodworm or anything.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I'm going to evaluate it.
Okay, make a test.
He's
to
going to
see.
kick the tires.
That's 14. Okay, let me just take a look at this wagon.
This bad boy could hold so much dust.
It does. It's quite a large, heavy almost a drayman's wagon. So it's a flatbed with it has slightly raised sides, and it's more or less a chain across. Well, it is a chain, not more or less. It is a chain across the back that you just hook over 2 cleats to stop stuff falling off.
Right. So if we were to put some large boxes on it,
Yeah, it's exactly
we
the
could
sort of
secure
thing
them in position.
you could. Yeah. It also has cargo netting as well, which again has probably seen better days, but it's there, and that would hold stuff in place for you. So let me just find traveling and adventuring. Might be under that. Let's try that. And it's not. Might be under the companion.
It doesn't have the word wagon in it.
No, it doesn't. And so I'm just going to check the companion rules.
Well, I'm saying the companion doesn't have the word wagon in.
Yeah, but it does have a section on vehicles. It'll have something broadly similar. So I'll use that as a base.
Page 81.
81. Let's just have a look. 81.
That's all about vehicle speed, defense, velocity classes, stunts. All right, no aircraft descriptions. So carriage, you've got carriage and you've got chariot.
Yeah. Which obviously it's neither of those two things.
You've got a truck or a transport.
I'm in the wrong book. That's why I can't look at. I can't find what I'm looking for. 81.
Page 85 in the companion.
85. There you are. That's better. 85. So, yes, I see what you mean. They just kind of jump from chariots and carriages right the way up to sort of modern vehicles, isn't it? I will base it loosely on a carriage then. Oh, look, it doesn't have the costs. That's great. Okay, back to the basic rulebook. See if we can find something in there that might assist us. So, under equipment, armor, weapons, grenades, gear. Traveling and adventuring equipment. Doesn't really, does it? It seems to be a bit of a
Battles
oversight.
and pots and things, carrying and storage, backpack, barrel chest, crate, flask, lock, sack, sawdust and skin, carrying and storage, tools, various tools.
Okay, so I'm going to say based on this. If I base it on, let me think now. Yeah, we're probably talking. Okay, so he's currently asking for a gold piece for the wagon. You currently think it's probably worth. No, sorry, you'd be asking more than that. He's currently asking for 5 gold pieces for the wagon. You think it's probably worth about half that?
Right, okay. Then I'm going to start bidding him down.
Okay, then, little lady, do see if you can give me a sensible offer then. It's just kind of sat here collecting dust, really, but having said that, you know, the minute you sell a thing, you wind up needing a thing, you know what it's like. So, what is your, as they say in the big cities, counter offer?
I will offer you exactly what this is worth with some profit for yourself.
So 5 gold.
No, I think I'll offer you. Is it 10 silver to a gold?
It is 10 silver to a gold, yes.
I'll offer you 2 gold, 5 silver.
So you're wanting to offer me about half of what I think.
Of what you're asking for, yes.
About half. I don't think I can go down as low as that. Let me think about it for a moment. No. But since I quite like you, I will say make it 3.5, and we've got a deal.
18 on the persuasion roll there, Brian.
Yeah, that's why he came down as far as he did.
Oh, right.
You can keep trying to persuade him, keep seeing if you can knock a bit more off.
We're establishing a group of road wardens, and we are going to need armourers, weaponsmiths, metalwork, wagons. We're going to need people who can build. We're going to need places for our troops to stay. You could be a part of that.
Right, well, I don't run an inn, and I don't make weapons and armour. But if they happen to need their horses shoeing, I'm definitely a man. So, like I said, 3.5. You can try a perception test based on...
Perception test?
sorry, a persuasion test.
Persuasion test. What I'd quite like to do is reach in to shake his hand and then say 3 as he shakes it.
Okay. Give it a try.
Isn't that a little bit dishonest, though?
Okay, so you stick your hand out, and he sticks his hand out, and just as you're almost shaking hands, because you don't want to be too dishonest, you go, 3, you said, didn't you? And he freezes for a second, and then he kind of rolls his eyes, and he goes, all right, 3 it is. But if your men need horses shoeing, you come to me.
Absolutely.
3 it is, and you can take it.
A pleasure doing business with you.
Indeed it is.
Now we need some horses.
Exactly.
That's a point.
Because if you just want to hitch your team up to that, and then he gets this kind of slightly smug grin on his face because he spotted this problem before you did. He kind of sits back against his... he sits back against his furnace briefly, and then goes, ah! You can see him like patting at his backside, and he sits in his own quenching bin.
In all fairness, though, seriously, is he actually injured?
Very slightly, yes.
Okay, I will heal him.
Right, you are. Go ahead.
You're going to cast the light of Paler on his burnt rear end.
No. You might already think it shines out of there. Just a bit of mundane healing.
Okay, just a bit of mundane healing. Yeah, that's more than enough. You see,
You're sounding very distant, Sean.
Microphone's in the wrong place. Right, there we go.
you see that he's burned himself a little bit, but mostly his kind of leather trousers have held off most of the damage. His butt cheeks are a bit red and slightly singed. He's singed some of the hair off them, but apart from that, he hasn't actually done himself a great deal of harm. It's a little bit of
pride,
harm.
more pride than
More
prejudice.
pride than anything, yes. He kind of grunts a thank you at you.
You're welcome. Would you happen to know where we could get another team of horses?
Well, what you would need is a livery stable.
Mm-hmm.
I should imagine. He says, looking at the livery stable that's abutted to the side of his building.
Okay.
So, do you know the owner?
Do you know, as it would happen, I do. A lovely bloke. You'll like him. He kind of takes his...
Does he presently have any difficulty sitting down?
just a little bit, yes. He takes his blacksmith's apron off, kind of brushes his hand through his thinning hair, and he says, now then, my friend me tells me that you need to buy some horses. How can I do you?
This is a local hamlet for local people.
Yes.
Is this entire village, this entire hamlet, just populated by him?
This guy.
Like changing into every role and talking to himself.
Well, yeah. it would
he
seem like
puts a blonde wig on and goes and puts an apron on, and he stands behind a baker's stand.
that. So, yeah, horses you need. So,
Yes.
wagon that size, I would say you're going to need probably a team of 2 horses. That's what you're
Okay.
going to need. 2 horses. Now, we have just the right nagged horses for you. Come and have a look at these. These are great. Look at these horses. These horses are great. And he takes you to the livery stable and opens up where you see there are a number of horses, but some of them are riding horses, but the majority are actually big, heavy horses. Now, as it would happen, I've had these have just come in stock recently and haven't at all been here eating me out of house and home for months. So, make me an offer. Make it a sensible offer.
All my offers are sensible.
That's what I like. Woman with a sense of humour.
Right, so being a horseman and a
evaluation.
rider,
Yes.
Oh,
Um,
can I evaluate horses? Maybe not.
It's a little bit harder. Kellen's probably better situated for it because
Okay.
he's more familiar with horses. Having said that, he's more familiar with riding horses. But sorry, Sean, go ahead with what you were
I
saying.
was going to
or
say, I
whatever.
mean, that's a good enough role.
That is a pretty good
That's
role,
what I can
actually.
Yeah. I was going to say, being a horseman and a cavalry type person,
Mhm.
I might know something about horses.
Okay, well, the horses has got a pretty heavy horses, similar to sort of Shire horses. They're big. They'd be great for heavy cavalry, as long as you didn't want to go too fast. These are not horses that are renowned for their speed. These are horses that are renowned for their durability and strength. You think
Okay.
2 of these pulling that wagon, if it was heavily loaded, fair enough. But 1 could probably do it if it had a light or medium load. 2, however, probably a better bet to be on the safe side. Price-wise, well, that's a good question, because they don't have the price for horses in here either. So I'm just going to see if they do in Dragon Age. Louise, do you have a copy of Blue Rose handy?
Possibly. Let me just check.
Because I have a
I'm
suspicion they
Sure,
might have the
I've
cost
ended
of...
up dumping it on a disc, but give me a sec.
Ah, right, okay. I know I've seen the price of horses in something. It's not in the rule book, and it's not in the thing. And I just kind of like to have a rough idea of what I'm doing at this point.
Swears down the tiger.
Animals, mounts, and vehicles. Here we go. Oh, look at that! It also tells you the price for a cart.
Is that Blue Rose?
This is Dragon Age.
Dragon Age. Dragon Age has it in. I don't know why it's not in the basic rulebook.
No, neither do I. So it's kind
There's
of
a
odd, isn't it?
couple of things that I find really weird that are in stuff like the Dragon Age book and the Blue Rose book. I don't understand why aren't in the
Fantasy Age.
core-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suspect they'll probably be in the new advanced rules when that comes out later in the year. I would hope anyway. It'd be nice. But anyway, I've managed to find it. So you reckon that a couple of draft horses, these guys look as if they're, moderately good horses. They're healthy. They're in decent condition. They're about mid-range for draft horses, so they're strong, but they're not like, stronger than the bog average for their species. So you think probably about 50 silver each. It's all gone quiet over there.
That's Kellen that's appraised them.
No, we
Oh,
don't.
right. Okay.
Well,
Is that Kellen or is that Gora?
both of you have probably worked that out. Yeah.
Between us.
And we've worked out the same price.
You've worked out that that's kind of the going rate for horses. Yeah.
Mog's too busy going through our pockets looking for apples to feed the horses.
It's got plenty of cheese.
And I think she might still have a few apples left in that bush that she bought a couple of adventures ago.
Oh yes, of course. That was. I'm just trying to think which adventure that was to work out if the apples will still be good or not.
Was that not back at the mansion?
I think that was all the way back at the mansion. So you're talking about several months ago. So
Maybe she doesn't then.
those apples would be bad if they were still left. Having said that,
Oh, there's some sludge in this pocket.
I assume you ate them all or threw them out. But I am going to assume that since you've come from Fannon's and you did pick up some provisions there, you've probably got a few apples.
Fair enough.
So,
How'd you like them apples?
by the way, you got the wagon for quite a deal. What did we say the wagon cost you? 3.5?
Yeah.
3.
3, yeah. Haven't actually found the price in Dragon Age. It should have been 15 gold. However, it shouldn't have been because the wagon in question's not in great condition. But you've still managed to get it for about half of what it's worth, you reckon?
So horse prices in there 50 silver for a draft horse.
Yes.
Rack horse. What do you want to do? Do you want to offer him a gold for the pair? Oh no, sorry, it's 5 gold effectively.
Yeah.
It's 50 silver, isn't it?
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's right. Yeah.
Offer him 7 gold for them
Okay.
total.
Okay, you
Right,
want to offer?
so these horses that have been eating you out of house and home, we'll take them off your hands for you. 7 gold.
Right, make a persuasion roll.
These are good horses.
I
mean
said
he's got-
I said these horses that have distinctly not been eating me out of house and home. However, it is expensive to keep horses, and they are here as stock. 7 gold's a little bit under par. Normally, I would ask 5 gold for each, so you're asking for better than buy one get one off price. So we're not that guy that owns the chain of shops sort of across at across the Nyadiva, you know. What's his name? Little. We're not him.
He's a dwarf, is he?
Yes,
He's only little.
he's only Little. I think Little might be his might be his nom de plume. I think Tesco is his actual name. But he keeps saying that every little helps. So. Yeah, 7's a little bit on the low side. Like I say, I would normally ask for 5 gold for each of them. That would be 10 normally. You're asking for. Okay, I'll give you the second one for half price. That's 7 gold and 5 silver.
What do you think, Kellen?
Do it.
Yep. Okay then.
Okie dokie. He hands you the reins for the horses. There you go. There's your 2 horses. He takes the gold off you and the silver. Thank you very much.
And
It's been nice
and he heads off towards the brewery.
And he heads off towards the brewery. Now then, is there anything else I can do for you? Because you know you've got a wagon and you've got horses. You know what you haven't thought to buy. You'll kick yourselves when you realise you haven't got any of the tack you're going to need to attach them horses to that wagon.
Is he coming back from our eyes here?
Yeah. Shall we say another 20 silver?
Okay, appraise the tack.
Okay, go ahead and make a roll. Yeah, it's not worth 20 silver. You'd say 10.
I love the fact that the people watching the stream is like, Thrill is the shop.
Yeah, we've critical rolled it a bit. Sorry, guys.
Will he bargain them down or not? Stay tuned.
Buy a fancy hat.
Has Mog got apple?
Adrian casts Puppet of Fate.
Can if you want to.
You could have been throwing magic at this.
So yeah,
No.
it's worth about half what he's asking. You reckon?
Mm-hmm.
I would think, given who we are, that we wouldn't actually attempt to influence people in this situation.
No.
Using magic to manipulate them into lower prices. That's not us.
We're the good guys. Sort of.
So can I get a bit of a decision on this, one way or the other?
Right, okay, for speed, how much did he say?
He said 20, but you reckon it's worth 10.
Right. Just to get things moving, I'll give him 12. He's lucky to get that. He's had a very good day's business.
He has. He'll take the 12.
Right.
Okay, he takes the 12 and kind of rubs his hands together. He says, now that Eric bloke that you wanted is probably over there in the brewery. In the tasting room of the brewery. I would imagine.
Right.
I swear, if it's this guy in a different wig,
You'll be asking him questions. Mate.
You head over to the brewery where you can already smell that kind of hoppy smell that's coming off the place as you go. Opening the door, you find that there is a tap room in it. It's not. I know the guy said it couldn't really be called an ale house, but it kind of could. It's a little on the small side, but you could get 5 or 6 people in here and have a bit of a thing. Lying unconscious on the floor is it's an older man, and it's a man in his late middle age. He's unconscious on the floor in a sort of starfish position.
hello.
Oh, keep it down. Ah! Orcs! Orcs! We're being attacked! We're being raided! Help! Help! Help!
Time.
You see 2 people come bursting through the doors. It looks like a couple in the middle age. One's got a rolling pin, and the other's got some kind of, you've no idea what it is, but some kind of wooden stirring tool, you think? Something like that. The brandishing
porridge
it.
stirrer.
Sorry?
Like a porridge thistle thing.
It's similar to that sort of thing, yeah. As they come bursting through, they take a look at you and they take a look at him and go, don't be daft, Eric. Do they look like they're raiding? Look at them. That's the most civilised orc I've ever seen. Which, incidentally, is more than we can say about you. I'm not an orc. Well, yeah, you kind of missed the joke there a bit. Never mind. What can I do for you then, people? Welcome to the brewery. We're very imaginative with names here.
I guess.
We have samples. We have the Plaguestone eye test here. That's an IPA, you're wondering.
We've got Tactical Nuclear Penguin.
Tactical Nuclear Penguin.
One of the strongest beers ever made.
And we have Buddy. Wiser Buddy. What can I get you?
I've heard of that one. It's not very strong.
It's not very strong. It's a light ale, to be fair. Yes, it's...
What do you recommend? What's your favourite?
Well, my favourite's the dark, but we haven't got any of that ready at the moment. We'll not be drawing that for another month or so, maybe.
I like a good dark beer. Did you say you had samples?
We've got samples, yeah. It pours a little bit into a couple of sort of shot glass size samples. Help yourself. Take a sample. It pours one of each in there. You take a sample of each and you think, distinctly average.
If there's one that's slightly above average, I'll have a whole pint of one of those.
Right, you are.
Tankard, whichever bit.
Flagging of one of those. Very wise.
Yeah.
That's what Eric... Where's Eric gone? Oh, Eric, come out from under the table, you knacker. I'm not coming out.
It's okay, I'm most harmless.
Why is that man there hiding under the table?
Because he's a knacker. He does this all the time. He's frightened of everything. He wouldn't think it. He lives up in the mountains, more or less on his own, because, you've seen him. Would you live with him?
Okay.
Anyway, there you go. Full flagging of that. That's 2 copper pieces, please.
Sure thing. I can afford that. I'll hand that over.
So dip a copper coin into it and all the oxide comes off. Sell it, bang, and the dirt is gone.
Go on, Eric. Out you come, body lad. He kind of crawls out from underneath. Aye, all right. All right.
Are we buying a drink for him? Is that what's going on?
No, they're just trying to get him out from under the table. Unless that's what Mog was buying.
I will buy him a drink if he wants one as well. If that'll help bring him out from under the table. I've got a coconut if he's interested in a coconut.
A coconut?
Maybe he's too shy for that.
Oh.
A coconut?
Yeah, from that fair.
Oh, all right. Aye, a coconut from the fair. Well, I only really like them when they're covered in chocolate, you know. And one of the other couple goes, well, aye, your bounty.
Oh.
You just thought it couldn't go anywhere, get any worse, get any lower.
The thing is, I know that joke of old. I saw it coming, and I welcomed it like an old friend.
Okay,
You ushered in, you sat it down, and you gave it a pint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You hand him over his drink, and you pay another couple of copper pieces for that.
Yeah.
He takes another look at you. He says, "I read Hinny. Thank you very much. I suppose I'll have a drink with you. Aye. You're all right, my body lass."
I've gone from to body lass in 2 sips. God, this is good stuff, isn't it?
Isn't it just?
That's what I was thinking.
I like the fact that as we've travelled north on the map, we've actually ended up in Newcastle.
I'll have you know this is North Durham accent I'm doing, but it's old Pitmatic style because he's a pitman.
Right.
I am kind of blending it with a touch of Newcastle. I didn't want to go.
I know who's hiding in that cave up the valley there.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be that tribe that tattoos the letter Y onto its eyelids.
Oh, the YI.
My eyes.
The YI tribe.
The YI tribe. YI, honey. Okay.
We have to sit down and get the pipe a bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's just
Give that
actually
one.
stuffing a pipe at the minute.
Well, let's talk to this guy and find out the information that we need before we
Yes,
degenerate into.
let's indeed. Let's imagine we're trying to move the plot forward just for a lark, shall we?
Imagine.
So eventually, after about an hour's backwards and forwards, just to get him settled a bit, you start to talk about ways through the mountains. Because, most people had gone all the way down, round like the southern Point Ute bit, past like the Beast Caves and up round to that way. And if you wanted to get in at all, but most people wouldn't, because there's no in there really. However, there is an ad way up through that you can get in. My mine. I'm a mine owner. Do you know? Did you know that I'm a mine owner? You can see the
did
two.
have a look about you.
Yeah, you can see the two brewers kind of rolling their eyes. If you can up past my mine, there is a secret way through the valley. Now it's you kind of gannon up a lot of the way and then you gan down. So you wind up like back on the left. It's canny card though. It is canny card. Be honest.
So is it suitable for wagons?
If you know what you're doing, aye. I mean, we get our supplies brought up there on wagons, although we didn't normally go all the way down into the far valley, because
Sounds a lot like you know what you're doing, though.
I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing.
Can you be more precise? Is it neither? Is it freezation or is it top cart weather?
Oh, I wouldn't. It's top cart weather. You need your heavy cart up there, lads. I wouldn't even wind me sleeves up, going up the top end of that pass. It's canny nithering. But yeah, I could probably. You show him the map that you've got, and he kind of indicates the following. I'll just draw it on. So what you need to do is you go up here. past my.
Who does it belong to? It's. He says mine.
It's mine. There you go. And that's the pass. It's difficult to find if you don't know what you're looking for. Like but it's there, and you can get wagons up there. It's not gonna be easy through parts of it, and the snow and the ice is the problem. Like.
Yeah.
So there's a few mines we could travel through to get there. So we could take our pick.
Oh dear God.
Oh.
I don't know if any mines have gone all the way through. Like you'd probably have to go up the high pass, but the high pass is there. Every now and again you get some prospectors who'll go down into the far valley, but that's not entirely advisable
Why not?
because they never come back.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, that probably doesn't sound like it's a good way through then.
That's the way
not-
we need to go.
Yeah, that seems to be the way you need to go. Okay. So
It's either that or take a detour to the south.
you could take a detour to the south. You actually know the way into the valley from there. So I'll just draw that in for you as well. I'll draw it in a slightly different colour. Draw that in red. You know about that pass. And you know you'd get a wagon through there because you've been through there to the Hidden Canyon several times.
It's a heck of a big detour back, though.
It really is, yes.
It is quite a big detour. It depends how much of a rush you're in, I suppose, doesn't it?
Plus, also, right, if we go back that way,
Mhm.
there's every chance we'll run back into some more of those crawling seafood monsters.
Crawling seafood monsters.
Oh, yeah. Carrion crawler.
That's the thing.
It's just, if you don't say that correctly, it's like it comes out waving its tentacles going, ooh, matron.
Yeah. Carry on.
Carry on.
Carry on, crawler.
Okay, so that gives you kind of two options. You can try and go for this hidden pass that he insists is there. Whether or not he's right or not, you don't know, and you've not seen it, so you don't know how easy it would be to get the wagons through. Whereas if you took the longer detour, you know you can get the wagons right the way up into the valley, right the way up to the area that the Wilderness Wanderers were heading for to clear that valley of the Whispering Titans, which is supposed to be up there somewhere.
Okay, question.
Yes,
Are we in any rush?
it's up to you guys.
Not really.
So,
We're not
The-
hurrying. There's no time pressure on us.
No,
to do this.
the destination isn't time sensitive. It's not like we have to get there within a certain number of days. We don't have to beat the weather.
Mhm.
There is no time pressure on us. Why
Not
take a
really.
risk? Sorry?
There's not really that I can think of. No, I
No.
mean you're in late summer, so it'll be moving into early autumn, but that it would be winter before the high passes are likely to be entirely closed. So
And we're not. If we're going that route, which I've just added in
Mhm.
my colour,
Mhm.
there's no high passes. You're winding through. probably
you're
this
winding
valley.
through low passes all the way if you go that route. Whereas if you take the shorter route, it'll knock about a day and a half off your journey. Maybe a
But
little longer.
if you get a wagon bogged down or something
Yeah,
slips off,
exactly.
no, good
Yeah.
point.
The risk does not equate to the reward
yeah.
at all.
Also,
The
the
only-
large part of the southern route from the town right the way through into the where the area of the Canyon of the Three Tombs is well enough travelled that it's usually pretty safe, except when there are monsters in the
Beast
or
caves.
bandits in the beast caves.
Mm.
Did you say that way it cuts the Valley of the Titans, though, as well?
The Valley of the Titans is. Let me just.
Because bits of that are marshy, and we don't want to be taking those.
Bits of that are quite marshy, yeah. Valley of the Titans is actually Sean has just located an option that would take you a different direction, so you wouldn't necessarily need to go through the Valley of the Titans. Yes, because it is. Wait, no, not this It's here.
Now that side valley is the Valley of the Titans.
The only other thing I can see about taking the purple route is that there might be something interesting to find that way on. But
Might it be worth coming back with less giant wagons at another point?
well, yeah, we can always explore it some other time. There's nothing time dependent about that route either. So I'm all in favour of taking the southern route. It's only out of our way, sort of, on paper as far as it goes. It just kind of feels that much longer.
It looks longer, but bear in mind that you would be looking for a pass that you have just been told is there, but you've got no firm documentation of exactly where it is.
Is
never
that for the
seen
purple
it.
route or the red route, did you say?
That's the purple route.
The purple
we don't know about this area.
Oh, right. If we're not even certain that there's a pass through that, no. Let's just go south.
I mean, this guy tells you the pass is there, but you don't know for sure.
No.
You're getting the I mean, he was passed out unconscious when you arrived. From having just come down here and blown whatever gold he'd made recently on beer. So you don't know if he's entirely a reliable narrator.
It's not a bastion of accuracy. No. I see no reason to take that route at all.
But he swears blind it's definitely there, and if you know what you're doing with these carts, you'll be able to get them through, buddy lad.
So he swears blind drunk.
He swears blind drunk. Yeah. Honestly, if you know how to drive a cart, you'll get through there. It'll shave 2 days easy off your journey. Looking at the map, you think, would it though? We're probably talking more a day and a half, and then that's if it's where you expect to find it, and you haven't actually seen it. So,
and if there are no complications,
so it's entirely up to you guys which route you think will be the best.
The one benefit, suggested benefit, is that it's going to shave a day and a half off.
Yes.
Of a journey that is not time dependent.
Yes. Yeah, the journey.
Is there anything to be said? Anybody? Is there anything to be said for taking that proposed purple route?
Silence was the grim reply.
Yeah, I feel I should be coming up with more of a balanced pros and cons list, but even I'm struggling to see what the pros might be when you're not time pressured.
The only pro about it was if that was the quickest route, but it's a more dangerous route. So it's one of these things about you try and take a shortcut across country rather than going down the main road.
Yeah.
If there was some sort of impetus, like to our party, like, oh, there's a group of bandits up in those mountains that we could clean out on the way, and they've got some sort of treasure, or there's like a pilgrimage site that we could see on the way there, or if the Tower of Saragosa itself was time dependent, then we'd have some sort of motivation to make that kind of choice. But as it stands, there is zero reason to go that way.
Well, can I tell you an anecdotal story of a trip from Stanley to Liverpool? Now, the way I would go is I would go onto the motorway, go down to the M62 and across to Manchester, across the mountains, right? Somebody else I know decided they were going to go cross country and cut across on the B roads and the A roads. And they broke down in the middle of the mountains.
Right. Yeah.
In the middle of nowhere. And you're like, why did you go that way? We said, we thought it would be quicker. And I actually said to them, look, because their car was off the road and they had to do the trip again, I actually drove them down the motorways. And they said, well, that seemed to be like a lot shorter journey, time-wise, even though road miles, it's actually slightly longer. But the reason for it is because you're traveling at a higher speed, average speed, and there's no hold-ups. You're just merging in and out of the traffic as you go. They're like, relatively easy, and we were there and back in half a day. was pick somebody up from university, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, why even bother going across the hills in an unreliable vehicle when...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
But
that's the point. We have 2 untested vehicles.
Yes, you do.
right?
The battle wagon is not the same wagon that we're used to driving.
Yeah.
It's not the same wagon that anybody's used to driving. It's a prototype.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
And we've just bought this other one covered in dust from a really dodgy bloke.
On
with
John's livery, yeah.
Yeah, with untested horses as well.
Yeah, you never know.
Unless there's any objections, let's head south.
And the thing is, we've then got that bedding in time, getting used to the drive of the vehicles
Yeah, exactly.
across flat country or flattish country.
Honestly, going this way, we can do reconnaissance as we go past the beast caves to see if anything's taken up residence in there again.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could actually if you wanted to do that. Okay.
Just take a cursory glance.
Okay, so let me just find a token to represent the party as a whole. The travelling group. So we'll use that one. It's a little bit on the large side.
We're
Bless you.
huge.
Doesn't need to be larger than the village you're coming out of, does it?
Sorry if you just heard a weird noise in the background there. I think someone scored in the sports ball.
Right.
We were the only adventurers in the village.
Go team.
Go team.
Hartlepool promoted.
All right. Okay.
Whichever team it is that you would prefer to win.
Yeah, okay, so I'm just dropping
Hooray
this
for our
in,
side.
giving it. Don't really. Well, hold on. Wagon.
Well, for whoever's winning, hurrah.
I hope both sides have a good time.
Controlled by all players. There you go. You should have that control of that token now. Okay, so you want to check out the beast caverns on the way past, did you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well, not to go in to any great degree, but to look for any signs of habitation
Okay.
in the surrounding area as we pass.
Right, yes. Okay, so if you want to give me a what do you call it?
we're going to do
Well,
some
Perception
recon.
test.
Perception, yes, perception tracking, please.
How about seeing? Will seeing do? Perception?
Yes, but I'll set the target number higher for seeing than I will for tracking.
Right,
I was
'cause
searching.
And I'll set that somewhere between the two.
I've got empathy. Can I tell how they're feeling in there?
Now I feel we're starting to get into sort of taking the piss territory.
I could do it politely. I could do it politely using etiquette.
Okay, so we
Adrian
have...
has perception. Ignore this line.
Yes, because it changed my mind about what focus I was going to give her, and you can't just delete a line once you've put it in for focus. It will always appear with a number next to it, so I had to put...
You know, I
Okay.
thought you could kill them off.
I couldn't at the time I did that. I haven't tried since, but yeah, you can delete it, but there will always be a line with a number in it. You'll just be like, "Why is there just a floating 2 there?"
Right.
Okay, so perception from Kellen, that was 14, and that was just basic perception. So, and Gora has done 18. Okay, and Mog 14. Okay. So, as you're approaching the area of the beast caverns, the thing that you notice most of all is that there is certainly no sign of bandits at the moment. You think that between the massive raid from the Merchants Adventurers Guild, based down south in Hotch Hotch, since their massive raid that destroyed the river pirates, who then became they took over the bandits in the area, and then a mixed party of Mog and the Wilderness Wanderers then destroyed the largest of those at the beacon tower. It's pretty much driven the remnants of banditry in the area out to somewhere safer, because a lot of those that survived those 2 major actions haven't survived since against raids from armed merchants, attacks by rangers and wildernessmen. So that largely at the moment the banditry's pretty much not happening right now. It never takes long for it to start up again, but at the moment that's not been an issue for a while. Searching for signs of larger dangerous beasts, you're not really finding any. You're finding trails of sort of predatory pack animals in the area that you think have turned the beast caverns into their den for the moment, the smaller ground level entrance. But nothing that's really going to be hugely dangerous to groups of humans.
No need to bother
good.
them.
There's probably some wolves that ran off from being in a wolf thing.
Yes, pretty much. It's a pack of canines of some description. So wolves, you think? Yeah.
Those ones we chased out of the manor.
The manor's a long way south of here.
We really did frighten them though.
That's true. You did. Okay, so if
They
you're
just kept running.
if you're pretty confident, you can press on all the way through to the Canyon of Three Tombs without any.
Fair enough.
And checking there to make sure that there's no kind of ghoul activity, nothing's spilled out from.
Okay, give us another perception tracking test or searching.
Oh, and I don't know much about. I mean, might I know about basilisks? Like if where there's one, there could be others.
Give me a natural law test.
I would have thought in character. This is what I would be thinking. Seeing is when they look at things, they kill them.
Yes.
And they're not immune to their own gaze because the legend has it you can use a mirror.
With basilisks, it's not in this setting. It's not the gaze that's the problem. It's just a general aura they put out.
They have to be able to mate though, surely.
They're
Maybe
not.
they do it asexually.
Sorry, say that again, Maurice?
Maybe they reproduce asexually, like grasshoppers and slugs.
Sort of. They're
okay.
they're not viviparous. They're oviparous, so they leave eggs behind, and when the males are in the right frame of mind, shall we put it, their death aura sort of falls off for a while. They fertilise the eggs and then off the book. As far as you understand it.
Well, I've got historical law. I've got arcane law. Any of those?
Any of those will do.
Oh, okay.
Give it a try. Okay. Everything I've just said is mythology. That's not actually how they reproduce at all. That's just how they. That's just the kind of folklore. It's what a lot of people think, but it isn't true. How they reproduce is completely unknown. But it's suspected that they're not actually natural creatures at all, that they're creatures of magic.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. And that
they might be summoned from another plane where on that other plane they don't have that effect.
In which case, keep an eyes open for any signs of basilisks or anything else that we've seen in the valley that could have spilled out.
Okay. Right you are. So you start making your way north. It takes several days to do, obviously, the big loop and to work your way all the way up into this valley here that I've just moved you up to. During the course of the nights, you're doing regular, you're getting 8 hours sleep each, and people are guarding, and you're cautious because you know that this is an area that people don't come to, and that people who do come to, according to local folklore, they don't come back, and you don't know why. Actually, I'll move you back because you won't get that far. So you're about here.
Where I've just this druid coming down the valley.
When, funnily enough, you can see a group moving down towards you. Yeah, a group of several other people, and they also have a wagon. Which, given that this area is supposed to not have a lot of, it doesn't see a lot of traffic, it doesn't see people in it according to legend, you find that a little bit curious. Make perception seeing rolls if you would like to figure out what is approaching.
So is that the music coming from the other party?
That's actually still in music. I should be getting rid of that, really. You do hear music coming from the other party, though.
Bit more out of tune, though.
A little bit more out of tune, and it appears to be somebody trying to simultaneously play a hurdy-gurdy and some kind of flute. And having only moderate success with either. You can also see it is occasionally punctured by... At first, you just thought this bird was kind of circling. Maybe he's chasing them for food, maybe he's just coincidental. But you realise that it's keeping pace with them and it's circling them. And you can occasionally hear in the distance... As they draw closer, you think, that group looks familiar. And then you can see that they're waving at you, and it is actually the Wilderness Wanderers coming back. Heading back south towards Fannon's, having finished their adventures at the Valley of Whispering Titans.
I got 6 points of stunts on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm assuming 20 is a success.
Yes.
So, in the event that combat takes place, I'm going to take the upper hand and advantageous positioning.
Okay.
You plan on beating your own character up.
Sorry?
You plan on beating your own character up so that you have...
No. Just if combat is following them.
Fair enough.
Okay.
If it happens to take place, or if they start on us, they've just come from the influence of the valley.
If your second party attacks your first party...
Yeah.
Eventually you recognise each other. You recognise that's the Wilderness Wanderers. They recognise it's the Company of Light. And you kind of come together and meet. It's kind of midday, so you just have a quick exchange of stories and tales. They warn you of the dangers ahead. They warn you of the valley that they've just been in, where you'll see these gigantic skulls. And that there are still some dangerous mutated animals there, although they have dealt with the underlying evil. Some of the deadly animals are still in that valley. They've heard tell from some of the local fae folk that there may be another way through to the valleys to the north, but they haven't found it. So they're aware of a route I will draw on for you in purple. Just give me a second. So the route they're aware of... Oh shit, that's the wrong thing.
There's a square box.
Is a square box, yeah. Ignore the box, I'll delete that in a moment. Is this one. And then that kind of goes round behind that map. Well, they lose track of it there, but according to the map you've got, you think there's a pass behind this mountain, so I'm going to draw that on there. They've heard there's another valley through, but they're not sure. Now, from your map, you think there's a possibility that there is a route through this way. But again, you haven't seen it. You're not absolutely sure. You don't know how accurate that map is. But the other thing to warn you about, the valleys from here up to where those two possible routes kind of break apart. There are a lot of there are a lot of fae folk in this area, primarily what do you call it? Beastkin. Beastkin. Primarily beastkin. There are a few ogres as well, which they are pretty sure is what is, popping off the people that come in here. There also appears they have encountered what they initially mistook to be beastkin, but which appear to be some kind of hyena men and women.
Okay.
Hyena creatures. Hyena people.
So not actual beastkin in the same way that gatorkin aren't beastkin.
Exactly, yes. They initially mistook them for that, but apparently they're not. Apparently there is some conflict between them and the beastkin in the area as well. there you go. So you exchange a little bit of news. You've got less to tell them than they have to tell you. You thank them very much. You share a meal, and then you both part company. Them heading south back to Fannon's, pretty much like Gurt did. They say they'll see you at Fannon's at a later date, and you continue your journey north, forewarned that the areas into which you are travelling might be an area in which there is ongoing conflict between beastkin and these strange hyena-like creatures.
Is the box the Valley of the Whispering Titans?
No, the box is something I put on there now, can't get rid of because I had it in the
right.
wrong setting.
Okay.
Because now when I try to delete it, there you go. The Valley of the Whispering Titans is the thing in red there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right. It's much further up.
In fact, sorry, it isn't. It isn't. It isn't at all. I've got that in the wrong place. I've just looked
I was
down
gonna say
at
we
my
would
notes.
ended up possibly in there either way around Utopia.
In fact, you'd have to go through the Valley of the Whispering Titans one way or
that's what I
another
thought.
because the Valley of the Whispering Titans is this side of the split. It is, let me just find my drawing log. Hello, kitten. I'll feed you in a minute. Sorry, the cat's on a diet and she's not happy about it.
Oh, bless her.
Remember you saying, yeah.
Yeah, Vetti's instructions.
It's off to the west, though, isn't it? Because there's the river running through it.
It has a creek running through it, which is too small to be
Right.
marked on the map. Yeah. So we'll call it about there. The river here is about twice the thickness, twice the width of the thing. So you're probably talking about up here somewhere. It's in this kind of area.
Okay.
Are you pinging?
No, I've drawn us the thing on the...
Oh,
Blowy.
oh right. Okay.
Purple blowy.
Yes. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so with forewarned that there might be conflict in the area between two separate types of, in some cases, almost indistinguishable beast people, because some of the fae folk also look vaguely like these hyena people that are up there somewhere, so you're warned to be careful which one is which. Aware that you're entering increasingly dangerous areas, you prepare yourselves. And that's where we'll leave it till next week.
Oh my goodness.
So there you go, bit of a shopping trip this week. I do apologise for that, but I don't know why I'm apologising. The shopping trip was
We got supplies now.
was player driven. So yes, thank you very much for tuning in. Those of you at home, next week the pace is going to pick up a bit as things become more dangerous, I think, for the party is the term that I am looking for. We'll see you again next week. Do take care, stay safe, and we will see you then.